Hey everybody, it's Trevor from Aerovision Canada out in the beautiful Atlantic coast here in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I want to talk to you today a bit about the ParaZero SafeAir system, specifically the M-200 Pro Series that they've just launched for ASTM compliant over people capabilities when it comes to the 200 series Matrice. With me over here I've also brought the Phantom Series SafeAir system, which we'll talk about a little bit later on, but really today's big star of the show is the new 200 Series Pro. We're going to get right into this unboxing here and talk a little bit about what you get when you flip open this really awesomely designed box. Let's take a look. So right away you're going to notice a bunch of compartments with all the bits and pieces that you're going to need to safely and securely strap your parachute to the top of your Matrice 200 series aircraft. The very most important thing, very first thing I want to talk about is the fact that there is a recommendation right away when you open the box. It says, congratulations on your purchase. Now let's learn everything you can about this parachute before you go out for your first flight. Last thing you want to do, strap your kit to the top of the aircraft incorrectly and then have something happen mid-flight. ParaZero's taken a lot of time, put a lot of effort into their R&D when it comes to making sure that the system is both designed safe from a hardware perspective and how it mounts to the top of the drones, as well as its deployment and in-service usage. So let's take off the front piece here and see what's underneath. Wow, so right away, you've got your parachute kit that's going to mount to the top of the drone. And inside of that parachute canister is your pyrotechnic charge that does deploy the chute in the event that you need to deploy it. Next in this box is your actual parachute. We'll put this down here just because it is a little bit windy here on the Atlantic coast. I'm impressed with the packaging already. They've taken a lot of effort to make sure that it's done safely and comes out of the box nicely too. So there's your parachute system itself, and that canister is going to load inside of your actual airframe canister and holds the contents securely and safely while it's in flight. So the next box you have is your cable box, and this accessory pack is going to contain 3 different cables, and I'm going to get to what those cables are for and where you're supposed to use them in the kit here shortly. But there's USB-C cabling. There is a little pack of screws with an Allen key and some other washers aside of it, and your power cabling. We'll just set those aside for the moment. So next we have the trigger system. I'm really excited to show you this because this is really what set the usage of these SafeAir systems in Canada apart for our ability as RPAS operators to use these systems over people. And one of the Transport Canada requirements is that you have to have a secondary means of deploying the parachute in the event that you watch the drone tumble or have an incident, but the chute doesn't open. And that's not to say that that's likely to happen. This is almost like an extra insurance policy. So let's just crack this open and have a look at what it contains. So this trigger system comes with T-shape antenna that is affixed to the back, can't be removed, but when you want to store it, it's just a simple bend over and away you go. Don't put a hard bend in it, obviously. We don't want to do that with any of our antenna systems, but what an absolutely amazingly machined 3D printed component this is. Belt clip on the back as well too, if you want to stick it right on the side of your belt so that when you're flying, if you need to, you can get to that deploy button as quick as possible without having to fumble around and try to figure out where your trigger is. Next, what we got just below that are your battery receptacles. These are going to take the place of the normal position of your batteries in the 200 series drone. So both of these, try to flip them around here so you can see, both of these are going to clip in where the normal battery slots go, and your battery is going to plug into these instead of just the airframe. On the very front of that, and we talked about the cabling as well a little bit, but on the front of that, some of these cables end up plugging into your batteries so that it can draw power from the aircraft, rather than have to charge a separate component on the parachute assembly itself. let's go ahead and have a look at the actual airframe component, because this is really where all the action kind of comes together on the drone to give you that safe, compliant over people capability that so many of us are looking for today with our bigger systems. So the housing on the front is what's going to contain your parachute system. Critically as well in the back is the actual brains of the operation happening inside of this very small but all important encasing here. Your safety pin on the back prevents the system from deploying when you don't want it to be in a state of readiness. So it's absolutely important that you keep that pin installed at all times until you're ready to arm the system, take off, and go for a flight. All right, so I want to have a quick little show and tell a little bit further on about some of the pieces that come with this. And right away, what I really want to just, state unequivocally is that the quality and the craftsmanship that's gone into this kit, and we've seen quite a few of them, is absolutely, bar none, some of the best manufacturing for aftermarket components I think we've seen in quite a while. So there's definitely, a lot of care and a lot of R&D that's gone into perfecting this kit, and we're really excited to put it into our normal day-to-day operations for over people operations, for BVLOS operations where we want to extend some of that range out. But primarily for us, we're doing a lot of over people operations here in Canada, and it's a requirement from Transport Canada that we have a system in place and a properly registered drone that incorporates this kit onto our M210 series to allow us to legally fly over people and also do it safely. So looking at the trigger, we'll start there. So this trigger, as I mentioned earlier, is a single piece unit, doesn't require any type of assembly, doesn't require any over complex operation to use. It does have a single LED light on top. It's got a single push button to either test if it's on the ground or to deploy when it's in the air, an on-off switch, and then a recharge port as well too. And that recharge is with your black cable. So when you first get your kit and you're saying, really want to get this up in the air, how quickly can I get it out of the box and go? Take the time, as I said earlier, look at the videos that come with it online. Drop us an email if you've got any questions about it, but definitely make sure that you are super familiar with this kit before you go for your first flight. There's nothing worse than something's happening and within that first 1 second in your mind you're going, oh man, I forgot to watch that video, I have no idea what's about to happen next. So take the time, review it as many times as you can so you know it front to back, and get comfortable with the kit before you fly it. That black cable, short little USB-C connection, just pops right into the side of your unit. Pardon me, USB-B, just a normal mini connection. Pops right into your unit here, straight into a USB port, and it just charges like anything else, no different than plugging in your cell phone. So we do have here in the Halifax Harbour an active control zone that's managed by the Canadian Air Force for Air Force operations, heliport operations that do happen just, let's say, a mile off to my left. And so sometimes you're going to hear aircraft ripping by, maybe one of the new Cyclone helicopters that the Air Force has, and it just speaks to the requirement to make sure that we are operating our drones as safely as possible so we can really do our part to ensure interoperability of airspace when it comes to use of drones in traditional aviation or military aviation for that matter. So a couple more things to look at. Earlier on when I opened up that cable accessory box, I showed you these power cables, and what these cables do is they plug in and they provide your power or your cutoff power even for your flight termination system. So you'll have ends that plug into your battery adapters and an end that plugs into the black box right behind where the parachute sits. So one of the things that we're going to show you back at the shop where it's a little quieter and we can get in a little bit more personal with the camera and show you how this installs onto, in our case, an M210 series Matrice from DJI, and give you a step-by-step breakdown of the proper installation method and the setup for the ParaZero SafeAir M-200 series parachute system. So what's really important to understand about these kits, any of these kits from ParaZero, whether it's on your Phantom or you're installing it on an M210 or you've got an M300 or an M600 or some other type of system that's manufactured or by ParaZero, is that it uses an autonomous triggering system, or in our case here, and as an option for anybody, the manual triggering backup to cut your power and deploy the chute. Now, all things being done properly, provided you follow the installation steps as prescribed by ParaZero, your drone's going to land. It should be recoverable unless you're flying out over the ocean, in which case we all know what happens with salt water and drones, and it's really irrelevant at that point if you have a parachute. But the whole intent of why you put one of these systems on your aircraft is so that it lands with less force and significantly less impact. And if it does happen to hit a car or a building or the street or a person, which we really want to avoid at all costs, it does so with the least amount of impact force possible. So your installation and how you go about using this kit, storing the kit, transporting it, is vital to making sure that at that critical moment, if something happens, you know that this is going to deploy properly.